All right, this is happening. I'm with Coolman CoffeeDan. So, Danny, you have had an incredible experience as an artist, well, ever since you started, but obviously the last 5 years as a digital
All
artist
right.
has been significant. And then you transition to NFTs. You have top 75 projects on OpenSea. So, not just your existing community of people that love your art, but this new community that's also joined them. And you and your team and everybody that you kind of work with have done great things. And I think people responded well because of that. So, for the folks that don't know you, who you are, can you introduce yourself a bit, and then we'll jump into a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Coolman, Coffee Dan. My real name is Danny Casale. I've been making my art and animations, ever since 2016, 2017. But before that, it went on so much longer. I've been making art my whole life. I think all the way back to when I was in kindergarten, doodling and sketching with crayons and, that being sort of my social currency. And everybody in school, all my students and classmates knowing me for that. I was the doodle kid. I was the artist, sketcher, weirdo, whatever you want to call it. And it's kind of always been my bread and butter. And, very naturally, when I learned about NFTs in early 2021, my curiosity was piqued. I saw digital art having its moment, and at that point I've curated such a beautiful audience, in the millions of people around the world of all different ages who really loved my characters and really loved my art and what it stood for. And so 2021 was a big year of learning everything that I could learn as fast as I could learn it, in terms of the NFT space and the whole renaissance that we find ourselves in.
So, how, as you've navigated going from being successful in Web 2 as an artist to now having great success in Web 3, what are lessons learned that you could share with other creatives, other artists, not people that are just having an idea, but those that have built a community that have had success, especially if they're a digital artist and they're looking and they're saying, okay, so how do I navigate these waters? What are some landmines they should avoid? And what are certain ways that they can get wind in their sail?
That's a great question. I sort of just jumped headfirst into the piranha tank, so to speak, because that's how excited I was, and that's how confident I was that I was a fully doxed artist. I have this character that's been around since 2017, and it's me genuinely loving and caring about these characters, my little babies, and the messaging that they stand for. Not confident in a cocky way, oh, this project's gonna mint out. I had no idea what I was going into, but I was like, this character and this art means so much to me. I'm sure it may mean just as much, if not maybe more, to other people in this NFT space. So, being that I jumped in head first, there was a bunch of, stuff that I'm sure I could have done better. Main one probably being, in the weeks and days leading up to Mint, it was definitely a bit of a mad dash. It was definitely like you felt like, oh my God, there's no way we're going to be able to get this done in time, and everyone's working around the clock between me and the devs and all the whole team just really trying to make this product like perfect, and make sure that there's no last minute bugs or glitches. And I'm sure we could have timed that a little better, but as with any, it was a bunch of young people working on this out of the passion for it. We weren't sure if it was going to do what it did. And as the weeks started counting down too, it was pretty evident that it was going to mint out. The Discord numbers just like totally quadrupled, and it was just a lot of immense pressure out of nowhere. But diamonds are created under pressure here, and that's definitely it made sure we were on top of our game. And but I probably would have allocated just a little more wiggle time to make sure we didn't have to stress out so as much as we did, but it was all worth it in the end.
Well, I mean, what a roller coaster it must have been all through the different experiences of building Coolman's universe. I was listening to a Tom Hanks interview, and he was talking about the great advice he got as an actor is when people are attacking you and criticizing you, don't take it too seriously. And when people are praising you and exalting you, giving you awards, don't take it too seriously.
Mhm.
You know, the whole idea of this stuff passes. And so I want to ask, since you have a top 100 project, based on the volume that's been traded on OpenSea, and you have a super committed community that loves the art and have bonded together, but things like the floor price, they have these crazy growth moments, and then they bottom out. And I don't know if it affects artists. I certainly don't know if it should affect artists, or if they should try to stay separate from kind of that side of things. But that happens, and it's going to happen because that's just the volatility of this. Would you be open to speaking a bit about your thoughts on how do you remain pure as a creator and connect with the community and break through the noise of the celebration that maybe is a little over the top and the sorrow that's probably way too significant based on just the ebbs and flows of how things work in the crypto economy?
Totally. I mean, I'd be lying if I said the floor price didn't matter. Of course it does. It's people investing their hard-earned money into a project or a person that they really believe in, right? Um, and there's nothing more volatile than the day-to-day market. Hourly, minute, every 5 minutes. You're staring at the thing, and that it could just be exhausting emotionally. It turns into a full-time job. um as an artist, though, I think, especially as an artist who's been putting himself out there for so many years, I've always sort of I've became quite accustomed to removing yourself from the day-to-day spectrum of fanfare and FUD. I've been making YouTube videos since I was 11 years old in 2006. There's always going to be haters, and there's always going to be fans that are, screaming your name from the mountains in celebration. Sometimes ebbing and flowing one way or the other, depending on the day. Obviously, it's never been so potent as the NFT market, though, just because it is so volatile in the day to day. And I think I apply those lessons I've learned in the past decade and a half of me doing my thing with my art on the internet. But I also just sort of, again, it goes back to the confidence in the core messaging of what this project is all about, which is, Spesh, my main character. I truly see that being my Mickey Mouse, or see that being my Kermit the Frog. Mickey to Walt Disney, Kermit to Jim Henson, SpongeBob, Hello Kitty. This is a timeless character that brings so much joy, and has been for the past 5 years, will continue to do so for the next 5 years, for the next 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. This is my 100, 200, 300-year play. My goal has always been, and will continue to be, to have these characters live beyond me when I'm gone. I want them to continue bringing people joy, continue entertaining people, continue the messaging. You're special, you're loved. And I think when you have a character like that, and I did put my main character as the main character as this project for a reason. That's how much I believe in it, and believe in where this goes and how far it does go. When you have a character like that, it sort of just corrects everything and keeps it at its core, super genuine and super authentic. And I'm a big believer in the whole motto that authenticity is key. And if I believe in my art as much as I do, and I believe in my messaging as much as I do, then I continue to be bullish. I continue to be super stoked as to where this goes. Not in a week, not in a month, although that does matter, but in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 100 years.
I like the way you think. You're super articulate, So it's nice to get your perspective as an artist, especially with, the level of success you've already had. When you consider the community aspect, it's different than before. Before, if you're a digital artist, you're building at least two different types of communities. One, where people are like digging the art and they're like fans of the art. And then two is like this loyal community
Mhm.
that are connected together and like they have you in common, your art in common. Are those the same two communities that you are engaged with here, or has Web3 opened up totally different dynamics to those that are collecting your art and those that are wanting to have some type of engagement with you, if nothing else, be it for them to post a comment and think that you read it, right? For that, when you post something, whatever it is, that they're like able to engage with it. So give us a bit of an idea when it comes to community development as an artist and a creative today in the NFT Web3 world, compared to what it's been for you the last several years in places like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. How is it different in this environment, and how is it specifically different for you, the creator and the artist?
I would say in the 15 years I've been working so hard to cultivate a genuine audience and community on, Web2 platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. Those 15 years condensed into the past 5 months. And it's already so much beyond what those 15 years did in terms of just traction and momentum and growth and culture, pushing forward. Like, it's been day to day, day in, day out. It's just been, I continue to be amazed with how fast the space moves. And that only happens because of how passionate everybody is in this space, right? So there's elements that like, I'm like, oh yeah, like, I've always been a huge avid believer in being super involved in my audience. That comes from, my Web2 lifestyle, right? Always talking and DMing back with people, because at the end of the day, your viewers, the appreciators of your art are what make, who you are. It's what make my lifestyle possible. I'm making a living doing goofy art. You're like, why would I ignore those people, right? So you take that lesson learned from the past few years and you apply it here, but it's like times 100, because the passion and the energy and the enthusiasm is just that much higher. And so it's like the same but different. It's just so much more. And there are so many aspects that maybe I take from that Web2 lifestyle, and sort of expand on it here. I do love being super involved with my community. Whether you own one spec or 100 species, like, doesn't matter. It's like, everyone's here for the same reason. And just sort of, the ins and outs of like, yeah, that's similar to that, but just so much more powerful. There's aspects of it that are completely and totally new that, I learn more each and every day. But, to say that, to say that the NFT space, Web3 space is identical to anything in the Web2 space is just a complete lie. It's just, this is a whole new thing. There's some, similarities maybe that I like to think Web2 prepped me for as an artist, but it's just so much more powerful and so much more, it's just bigger, and it moves so much faster. And it's not, some people I don't think can keep up with it. I'm very happy that I am able to.
So it must also impact you as a creative in terms of the level of encouragement and positive reinforcement that you're getting, right? So there was a time when you create something digital and you'd like put it on social, and your metric was, what's the engagement on this post, right? Or do people bring this up with me next week or whatnot? But now you have, like, in real time, people are hungry for things that you create. And so when you get the kind of positive reinforcement from the community and you're creating things, how does that put pressure on like timelines? Because there's still like a pace by which you do things from an entrepreneur's perspective. just even being sensitive to your community, like this is a pace that's reasonable. Yet as a creative, you're probably always wanting to create things nonstop. So how do you kind of walk through the pace and take in all of, the encouragement that you now get today that's different than maybe it was, because it's so direct and so in real time, based on places like Discord and things of that nature?
Yeah, it has its pros and cons, right? You put out, you could post a drawing, that you just made in Discord or on Twitter, and then in an instant, you'll have 100, replies of people, giving you feedback and, saying yay, nay, whatever. And then on the opposite side, if something's going wrong on a particular day, everybody is sort of very vocal about that. Again, in an instant. In the past, it's always been, very different. You post, like I posted a video today, it's like I posted it 6 hours ago on Instagram. It's already at 1 million views. I posted on TikTok, and the comments, there's people, in the comments there, but it's not so in your face. And it's kind of just like a passing, like someone's liking it, someone's saying, tagging their friend in it. It's all like very in passing. But with Discord messages and with tweets, it's very these are holders of my NFTs, right? So what they say directly matters and directly affects the project and directly affects other people's enthusiasm who are also holders or maybe thinking about getting in. So it goes back to the potency of it all. And it's just very different. As an artist, I think that definitely took a little bit of getting used to in the beginning. It's a whole different energy. It's also just a whole different emotional reaction because, it's very easy to get overwhelmed because, you're just used to, you grow up as an artist just being in your bedroom, sketching goofy doodles and nobody's seeing it. Now, all of a sudden, compared to today, I, make a doodle and everybody sees it in a split second, who has this opinion, who has another opinion. And I think, again, it goes back to what I said before, which is really truly believing in my core values and the core messaging as to what I know this art means and where I know this art goes in all the time to come. And I think I like to think that people sense that confidence from me and sense that authenticity from me. And in turn, trust me, right? There's a lot of trust in the space, or there should be. And I think, if you're able to trust me as the artist, and I'm putting my all into this project each and every day, I've never worked on anything harder in my life. Hopefully that means that you're able to sleep easier at night and trust that I'm taking this ship in the direction that I think it should go in.
Do you always feel like you can be filterless when you talk about the direction that things should go in? And I ask this in two regards. One, the things you say could affect your community, and therefore, if you just say with heart on your sleeve, potentially they could respond more extremely than maybe you would have wanted them to had you kind of couch things. That's one. The other is, the government is looking at NFT and asking themselves, okay, is this a security? Where do the lines draw in terms of what we expect from artists and the creators and what they're creating? So I think there's two different things. There's the accountability of the community, and there's all the questions around how government kind of interacts with our industry the next decade. Based on these types of things, do you hold your cards close, or do you just share? And what do you think is best for others that are artists and creators that are listening to us to consider when they think through these types of things of open communication, authenticity, vulnerability, which everybody desires, and decentralization, and yet responsibility and maturity and thinking that stuff through?
Great question, man. I mean, I think I always loved wearing my heart on my sleeve, like you said, and providing that transparency so that you as a viewer, as a holder, as a believer, as an appreciator, as my mom, whatever, everywhere in between, you just see what's on my mind and see where my inspiration is at and see what's in the horizon. And I think from a high level, zoomed out perspective, that's helpful. People can sort of get really hyped up in that moment, and just bring it back to what it all really means, and why I'm doing this thing. I make my art to inspire people, to make people feel less alone, to make you realize that you're beautiful and you're unique, and that you're not as ugly as you may think you are. All those little white noise, negative thoughts in your head, that's timeless. The reason for making my art, that's it. That's not going to change in 5 years. That's not going to change tomorrow. And I think keeping it high level like that, and talking about that, and continuing to be super stoked about that, gets everybody excited, no matter if it's a Monday or a Friday or Christmas or the middle of summer, or whether the market's up or down. That's the constant. That's the core. And I'll continue to wear that on my sleeve, because I genuinely continue to be really excited about that, and hopefully making a difference in the world. The more specific stuff, right? That's where you have to kind of strategically be careful, and not, know what to keep secret until it's truly ready to be shared. I think a lot of people tend to get a little too excited for their own good, and then maybe they spill a little too much, and then it negatively affects the project as a whole. I again, like, I take values and lessons I've learned from my Web 2 life. If you really work on something really hard, you want it to have that release, that moment out into the world that it deserves, because you did work on it for so long. And the only way you could do that is, unfortunately, by telling yourself to shut up on some things and know what to say about other things until it gets to that point. It's sort of like if the mama bird releases the baby bird too prematurely, it's just going to fall into it's not going to fly on its own. And it's always been, there's no real playbook there on what to share and what not to share. You sort of have to hopefully be working with people that you trust, that can give you their POV, and also just emotionally know what's right. It's been a bit of an ebb and flow process for me personally, knowing what to share and saying, you know what, that's also not quite ready yet, or it's not the right time to share that yet. There's always stuff, just going bonkers in the background. There's always stuff just really excited, worth being excited about. But I think it would be irresponsible for me to just go out there and shout it from the rooftops, because at the end of the day, it's people's money. It's like, I can't be shouting these things that I don't believe 100% in, especially if it directly affects your bags. And, who knows, like, it could have a very adverse effect, regardless of how much I truly believe it might have a positive effect. And that's been a little bit of a learning curve, but it's an important learning curve.
Another question I was wanting to ask you is on the royalty fees. I think some artists chose a royalty, and then maybe they questioned if they should have gone with the max or gone with less. You have the great grace where you've had your art with Coolman's Universe alone trade over 24,000 ETH. So it's been a massive secondary market. And so I'm kind of wondering a couple of things. One is, how impactful is it for you to know that you're getting paid a royalty fee when the majority of your work was just seen, passed along, shared, commented on for free? There was no ownership, no financial element for so much of it. And now it's like people are valuing it and trading with it, and you get paid again on that. So one is like, what's the perspective on the royalty fee, and how does that encourage you, like in a positive light? And the other one is, what's your take on the royalty fee that you chose to charge, and how might other artists and creatives think through making that decision on what do they put in the smart contract in terms of what they get paid every time it gets resold?
Yeah, another really good question. This goes back to, I'm very grateful for the people in my life that I chose to work with on this, because I trust them. Main point being, the dude who came to me saying you'd be crazy not to do this is my longtime buddy from New York City, David, who, we've been friends for years, regardless of money or anything. He never thought he could get anything out of me, vice versa, just genuine buddies. And He's the co-founder of Coolman's Universe, and I trusted his input and his opinion and where he thought this should go and how he thinks this should work. I needed to focus on the art as much as possible, and I, really realistically couldn't be bogged down with the numbers and the inner workings on the back end too much. I just need to be kept in the loop. So I trusted him and how he thought the secondary percentage should be built up from 0%. And that's how we landed at 5.6% between all the splits and the people that, worked on this project. To answer your first question, it is such a radical change, and, videos on Instagram and TikTok being exchanged and passed around for free to all of a sudden there's these pieces of digital work that are being valued for thousands of dollars. And every time there's a transaction, the team gets a cut of that. My genuine first thought when I saw that first secondary dump of ETH into the team wallet was, okay, cool. When's the first event? March? Dope. We could pay for that. Like, what's our budget? Look at that. That's our budget. Dope. A substantial amount of the money goes right back into the project, right back into the business, which I've always been a huge believer in. Just because a bunch of money pops up out of nowhere doesn't mean that's it. It's like, no, that's if the game just started, man. You got to keep building. Like, now you have the funds and the capital to do all those things you said you always wanted to do. I've always been doing IRL events. I had my first one back in 2019 with my artist buddy Catnips in New York. That was a $0 event, but I still wanted to put it on. It was all friends helping me out, and we made like a whole ceiling full of clouds out of like pillow cotton and cardboard cutout characters, just like sawing like styrofoam and spray painting these things, and magical event. Now you could do that. All the genuine love and authenticity put into that event in 2019, 3 years ago, you could do that. But now with a budget of the last event we put on in New York was over $100,000. It's like, hell yeah. Why wouldn't we want to do that? We want to do it right. This is because it's my art, it's my brand, it's my reputation at the end of the day. Why would I want to do it wrong? Why would I want to put the least amount of effort and budget into that? I want to put the most amount of effort and budget into these things because it directly reflects what I'm building here and what I've been working towards my entire 26 years of existing. So that's how I look at it. I think, it's great that now there's people that value my art at this percent, at this amount, and that a percentage of that goes right back into the business to continue fueling this thing. Because I always wanted to be able to do stuff like this. I just never had the capital, and now it's there, and the capital's there. It is there to continue pushing this brand to where it needs to go.
Well, I think that's a pretty good point to wrap it on. I like a lot of the things that you shared today. I think that it's nice for you to have a voice in the industry. I would encourage other creatives and artists, especially those that have had some level of success, to take a listen to what it is that you have to say. Maybe if you're listening to this, you might want to rewind and start over again. These are some pretty unique insights. You have a different way of articulating your experience than most, and you've had tremendous success that is way outside the realm of lucky or blessed or fortunate or right place, right time. None of those things are true with the number of things that have gone right for you. And so obviously diligence, hard work, incredible talent, thoughtfulness. You clearly have an idea of what it is your community wants and deliver to them consistently what they're desiring, and therefore they've responded in kind. So I celebrate with you and your team. I think that you guys are forerunners and showing an example of one great way that NFTs can be used for art and community development. Looking forward to seeing you in New York. For anybody that's watching us, thanks for your attention. We look forward to seeing you at NFT.NYC in Times Square, June 20th through the 23rd. And again, my friend, thanks for jumping on here with me. I'll see you in New York in about a month.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate you having me on.